It was a bustling, lively morning on the island of Sodor. However, the engines weren't complaining. It hadn't been quite as busy on the railway recently, and they were all enjoying carrying out a long and hard day's work. However, Thomas the tank engine wasn't feeling so upbeat. He had been having to use a replacement coach after Annie had gotten into an accident, and he wasn't making things any easier. We gonna leave this station or not? We've been here for 2 hours. We've been here for 46 seconds. If I were you, Thomas, I'd bump that coach so hard its only use would be scrap metal. Yeah, I looked into that. Apparently it's not legal or some crap like that. Well, I'm sure Annie will be back from the works any day now. Oh, speaking of, Thomas, did you tell Annie I was sorry for the accident? Yep. Did she forgive me? No, but you'll get there in a few years. Anyway, time to head off. Finally! Kid, I will smite you. Thomas puffed along dreading his run, but as he reached the first station, he found that the matters of Henry's train were far more worthy of his interest. As Henry pulled up to the platform, 2 very strange, formally dressed men climbed down and were about to board his coach. One was a very neatly dressed man who looked rather serious. The other one looked like he had just rolled out of a prison bed and threw on a trench coat to cover up his sweat stains. Thomas was very curious, but he didn't want to be rude, so he whispered to Henry. Who are they? Nice inside voice, Kirkwad. And I'll have you know, these men have a very important meeting with Sir Topham Hatt that I'm taking them to at Napperd. Come on, Archie, we cannot be late. Get on the train already. I'm trying, boss. It's just... this is quite a workout. I swear to God, you're a humiliation to us all. Next time, get a bag for the sandwich, will you? Let's just get this over with. Hopefully, after this, we can move on to stage 2 of the plan. This made Thomas perk up. I wonder what those 2 men want to meet with Sir Topham Hatt about that's so important. Maybe word has spread about me and how well I've run my branch line. I have my doubts. But Thomas was now in a better mood, and he set off down his branch line. Later that day, the 2 men began their meeting with Sir Topham Hatt. Greetings, gentlemen. I've been looking forward to elaborating on the matter we discussed over the phone. God, that's a large sandwich. Can I get you 2 anything before we start? Another sandwich? What we really wanted to discuss with you, Topham, is we've noticed that a lot of children around the world have taken quite a liking to your engines, and your railway seems to be quite the tourist attraction because of that. Me and my deadbeat slave associate here have been working on getting the book company we started off its feet, and we were wondering if we could have the permission to write some children's stories about the engines on your railway. It would bring in more publicity for you and help us get our company really off the ground. I must say, I'm quite fond of your proposal, gentlemen. I myself would be fully on board. I just need to obviously consent with my engines. That evening, Sir Topham Hatt came to speak with the engines about it. Good evening, you all. I'd like to introduce you to Harry and Archie. These 2 gentlemen have recently spoke with me and have expressed interest in writing children's stories about you all for boys and girls around the world. What would you say to that? I look forward to meeting all of you over the course of time, if you agree. The engines were ecstatic. They cheered and whistled in agreement. This is so exciting. Children's stories about all 5 of us. Yes, the 5 of you, and who's that engine over there? Oh, that's Percy. He's not allowed in the shed. This is a new high for me. Normally, I sleep under the Marin Road Bridge. Keep your mouth shut and you won't go back there. But James, I thought we had a permanent agreement that I get to sleep in your shed on the days that don't end in Y. Hey, me and Harry have that same agreement in our apartment. A swarm of excitement now filled the sheds, and the engines continued discussing it far into the night, even after the men had left. I bet I'd look fabulous on a cover. Yeah, a cover of a peanut butter jar. I'll be the one to get the first book. I brought the 2 men to meet with Sir Topham Hatt. Bah, I'm the pride of the railway. I'm sure I'll be the center attraction in all of the books. I'm sure your face will look wonderful covered in scribbles, Gordon. The feeling's mutual. Hey, what about me? And maybe I'll get the first book. I got too silly. The next morning at Knapford Station, the engines were preparing to leave with their daily trains, and Harry and Archie were standing on the side of the platform discussing something. Now remember, Archie, we're supposed to make it seem as if we're what? Archie, where did you go? Hold on, boss. I think I dropped my sandwich somewhere over here. You simpleton! Get out of the main road! I couldn't find my sandwich. I don't care if you could. I'm only going over this with you one more time. I am going to be the one standing around surveying the railway. I need to see which type of service this railway runs on more, passengers or freight. But we need to make it look like we actually are writing a book about the trains. So you're going to be standing around with a camera, taking pictures of the locomotives as they pass by. We can't at all make this seem suspicious. Soon the guard's whistle blew and the engines were off. The writer's work began. Henry was the first engine to have an encounter as he puffed along with his train. As he approached Marin Station, he saw Archie standing on the corner of the platform with a camera. Henry wasn't carrying any coaches, but he didn't want to be rude. I'd better stop and ask if he wants a ride, he said. But as Henry reached the platform, he stopped too short and the trucks crashed together, sliding against the roof. Henry couldn't believe what he had done. Bollocks, he said. Also, does that man know he's holding his camera upside down? Wow, that was cool. Meanwhile, Harry was beginning his study at Wellsworth Station. Here we go, he said as he pulled out a pen and paper. This is a good spot to begin the study. Meanwhile, Percy was pulling a goods train. He was very excited. He barely ever got to show his face in public. But as he approached the station, he noticed Harry. One of the writers, he said. I can't do anything stupid. But Percy's anxiety flared up, and he jumped back instead of going the right way. The points on the crossing had now been set against him, and his brake car immediately tipped over. Oh no! Cried Percy. Ha! Laughed James as he passed. Loser! Percy couldn't help but laugh like a hyena in the background. Ugh, figures, grumbled Harry. The one day I want the railway to run normally. That evening at the sheds, the engines at fault had already received a scolding from Sir Topham Hatt. James had only received a bit of front damage, whilst Edward was being sent to the works for an extensive amount of time. Well, said Thomas, I learned something today. James would be a crap main character. Shut up, said James. I'm not the only one who got into an accident. Look at Percy and Henry. Yeah, but at least Percy's a decent shedmate. Well, said Gordon, at the very least, they have something to write their stories about now. Hey, wait a second, said James. Gordon's onto something. How did we not realize this earlier? They want us to get into crashes and accidents, so they have something to write their stupid books about. They probably knew we'd get jumpy and mess up when we saw them observing us. The engines had to admit after some thinking that James's theory sounded a bit convincing. You mean I got into that accident for nothing? And I screwed my train over to try and pick up a phony. As if almost on cue, the two men walked up to Tidmouth's sheds. But the engines greeted them with shouting and angry whistling. Sir, Percy spoke, is it true that you want us to crash and get into accidents so you have plots for your books? If so, I'm backing out of this thing. You just lost your best character. The words you and good character don't fit together in a sentence. Well, actually, our plan was to... Can it, you fraud? This is the perfect way to wrap up stage 1. Engines, Harry spoke enthusiastically. We are aware that the events of today were all just mistakes. Everyone makes them. I'd probably make a ton too if I knew book writers were observing me. But trust me, you can all rest assured that those events do not represent who you truly are. You are all amazing engines, and we want the children reading these stories to see the best in you. So that's only what we are going to put in the books. "Oh, wow," said Percy. "We appreciate that, mister." I still thought the James one was pretty funny. "Screw you, Thomas." The engines now breathed a sigh of relief and went happily to sleep, knowing that the books being written about them were in good hands, and the nice men were on their side. Well, we've done it, Archie. Stages 1 and 2 are both complete. We've gained the engine's trust, and I've figured out which type of service this railway relies on. I counted only 2 express trains and 4 freight trains, which means we're going to go after the freight. So all that's left to do now is publish the first book, right, boss? Yes, Archie, that is stage 3, and I know exactly what contents will be in said first book. The coaches on this railway don't tend to be very friendly, but the trucks are. This was all falling into place perfectly. Hey, boss? Yes, Archie. Can I sleep in the bed tonight? Oh.